what I would say to the people who are maybe starting businesses, maybe have something to offer which doesn't cost a huge amount of money, which doesn't require a huge investment of trust in the people around you, but then continue to build the relationship for your...
Stephen, welcome to TEBsCLUB. It's a club and it's a venture where we have more than thousands of startups, more than thousands of entrepreneurs. We have 50 plus mentors and coaches and like-minded people like you. And we have 20 plus companies who are working with us as a partner. And those companies are well-renowned and globally renowned. And we are so much delighted to have you on our show. This is called the O2-Drive, that is obstacle to opportunity drive. That means we are facing so much of obstacle in day-to-day life, in the market, in personal, in professional, and in business aspect. So here we try to transform that obstacles to opportunities through the like-minded people like you. So we uplift each other by learning, sharing, and growing. And we are very much elated by your presence here and by your presence in our ecosystem. Thank you so much.
I'm really pleased to be invited. If we can help anyone turn these obstacles into opportunities, then that will be a great outcome for both of us.
That's it. I would like to introduce you to our viewers that Stefan Thomas, the author of Amazon bestseller Business Networking for Dummies, and he is a regular booked as a public speaker on business networking and social media skills for all sorts of organizations. He provides training to many businesses to help their team really understand business networking and how to get the most out of it. He also works one-to-one with clients who are business owners looking for forensically at the new networking activities and ensuring that they are getting the maximum return on investment. If you feel that your team, the attendees of your conference and events would really benefit from understanding business networking better, he is the right person. So Stephen, so continue with our interview session. We all like to know how you are here, you are today. Enlighten us with your mentorship journey so far and what inspired you to choose this as a profession.
It's interesting, Saika, and thank you so much for having me on today. And to everyone watching or listening to this, hello from Oxford in England this afternoon. It feels to me as though this profession chose me rather than me choosing it. For the first 20 years of my career, I was an estate agent, which we call it in the UK, a real estate agent. I think they call it in most of the world. And that's what I did for 20 years. In 2007, I lost my job. That's the short version of what happened. And that obviously was quite a big obstacle, which I had to reinvent myself. I started a small business in 2007 and started going to networking events to promote my business. And I had to make sales to pay my bills. And so I had to learn pretty quickly how to make this thing work for me. And then I got a reputation of knowing how to make networking work. So over the years, people started asking me how to make it work for them. And that became my business. And then in 2012, I sat next to the publishers of that series of books. I sat next to them at a networking event, and they had seen me speak and asked me if I would be interested in writing that book for them, which of course I did. And to fast forward then to just about a year ago, March 2020, most of my income, most of my earnings was cut off again by the pandemic. Any conference in England was, or even Europe was cancelled completely, and so I had to think again about how to make everything work for me, how to continue to survive as a business. And so I started phoning people who I knew, people who owned companies, and started the process of mentoring their teams in those companies, and doing that by Zoom, because one obstacle we've turned into a huge opportunity. I can have this meeting with you from Oxford to India today just as easily as we could. So I've now been able to mentor people all over the world, from here to Australia, as easily as sitting here talking to anyone just as if they were in the same room. So the path chose me, Psycat, rather than me choosing the path. It's a lot of what's happened to me came out of obstacles where I had to find the opportunity.
Exactly. I think going online is also, it has pros and also the cons. But the beautiful thing is, it's a beautiful in disguise, because
Yes.
we can connect with each other, with people who are far away, and they need our help and they need to talk us. And we are also growing our networking by this. I think the networking term creates an example with online networking also. I think by the online networking, we are creating a vast network of people who can network with each other. I think pandemic has given a beautiful gift out of the blues. So
it absolutely has, because just to pick up on that, by you and me connecting on LinkedIn, I'm now lucky enough to be able to connect and engage with your audience in India, and I never underestimate the power of these connections in future. I say that every big opportunity starts with a little conversation. So a little conversation which you and I had a few weeks ago on LinkedIn has now led me to this opportunity to talk to you and your audience. And that sort of thing is fantastic to me. It really is.
Thank you so much. The pleasure of the project is all ours, actually. And moving forward to the question that, like we all are, facing a lockdown situation, a global crisis in many areas. So the pandemic affects your business, our business, every businesses. So as you just, told us about how you recover in the pandemic situation. So please tell some events and some, insights, how you really managed to overcome it.
A couple of ways that I've managed to overcome things. The biggest thing for me last year, the biggest strength for me last year was the power of my network. That I had people in my contacts on my phone. I had people who knew me and trusted me, so that when I picked up the phone to them, they answered, and we were able to have a conversation, and I was able to say, look, this is where I am. I'm getting no speaking gigs for the next however many months we thought it was. These are my skills. Can we talk about what I might be able to do for your organization? And, people said, yeah, let's have that conversation, Stefan. So I'd put myself in the position where I had those people in my address book. But the thing which I did, of course, was take action. And I remember it so well. On March the 16th last year, I started making phone calls and started talking to people. And for any of for any of the people that you're connected with who are listening to this or watching this, taking action is always the key. Think about what you can do and start moving. For me, it was talking to people who I had helped in the past, who now might be able to help me. And you and I have got a connection now. So I'm someone you can reach out to. You're someone I can reach out to. Building a network, which I'd spent 15 years doing, proved to be really important to me. So I would say to anyone involved in this call today, start building your network now. Continue building your network now. You never know when that might be useful to you. The other thing was that I've learned over the years that you have to look for the opportunity in every obstacle. There really is no other way to come about life, because all of this was going to happen whether you or I did anything about it. The pandemic was going to go on. Some businesses were going to work out how to survive. And I made that choice that I needed for my sake, for the sake of my partner and my family. We needed to work out how to survive and keep money coming in. That was something that had to happen. So necessity led me to take action and to be positive about it. That's how I overcame it as I've overcome other things in my life, I guess.
I think the most important part is open-minded and be positive every time. So as you were open-minded every time and be positive with the like-minded people, and you have built your network for the past few years, and that networking did help you recovering this pandemic situation. So you are the live example for getting how we get the most out of it with the networking. And I think with the live example, we can show each and every viewers of ours that networking and connecting with the people does create a lot of changes in your life with positive manner. And you have to create that opportunity, because obstacles are always a part of your life. And if you can't change those obstacles with opportunity, so you can't barely think about that you will be facing beautiful problems or small problems. Problems doesn't have any dimension. They can be big, they can be small, but always you have to look forward with an open mind and be positive about it. Thank you so much, Stefan, for the insightfulness.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. So moving to our next question, the art of public speaking and ice breaking between people is most important. As you say, every opportunity has to start with some conversation in order to business growth. So could you explain how the crux of that saying that you just said?
I take every opportunity so that I don't have to start conversations with strangers, because a really terrible thing for me to admit to your audience is that I don't really like walking up to people who I don't know and starting to talk to them. So one of the things that I do, and I've done for years, I connect with as many people as I can online, so that when I arrive at events, there's always some people there who feel like they know me already, because we've connected on LinkedIn, or I've spoken to them in another context. So one of the first things that I do is to connect with as many people online, but also to show real interest in them, not just to broadcast my own business, not just to promote my own business, but to go and show real interest in them, because that helps in one of two ways. Firstly, people are grateful when you show interest in them, and secondly, when I see them at a networking event, I will know something about their business or their life, which will act as a conversation starter for us. So I can go and I can say, I can meet you at a networking event and say, Saikat, I read what you put on LinkedIn the other day. Let's talk about that. And it saves that thing of having to really think about clever ways to start conversations. So I try and connect with people online first. I do that as much as possible so that there are always people at any events. I look, if I'm going to an event in a different country, I try and find out who's going to be there, by who's posting about it on LinkedIn. If the organizer is posting on LinkedIn, who's replying in the comments, because it probably means that they're going to be there. So I engage with them. If I don't know someone at an event, I have learned that the best way to approach people is just to be human. don't feel that you have to think about something clever to say. Just start the conversation in a way that's culturally appropriate for you. So in England, we talk about the weather. We talk about what the transport was like getting to the event. I find that if we just start, and then the conversation will grow. And actually, even though we joke about the English talking about the weather, it's that first thing that we've got in common. The first thing that we've got in common is that it was raining, or it was too hot today, or whatever it happened to be. And that starts the conversation for us, so that then we can start to ask the other person about themselves. And that's how I take conversations forward. I try and learn as much as I can about the other person, not because I want to sell to them, but it does make selling to people a lot simpler.
Exactly.
Because if I know a lot about the other person, if I then phone them and say, you know, Saikat, you were telling me the other day that you've got this problem in your business. Look, I've just launched this service. I really thought about it before calling you, but I know that it could work for you. Can we talk about it? It makes it much more likely that you'll be interested in talking to me, because I'm not just phoning and saying, I'm doing this, will you buy it? I'm saying, I thought about this. You told me you had this problem. I think I might be able to solve it. Can I just explain what we're doing? It's that genuine interest in other people that really makes it much easier to sell, and really makes it much easier to have conversations in future.
I think the conversation that you just told us, it's not a conversation, but it's a connection. You make the connection with them by emotionally, and of course with the things that are going on there in their terms and in their world also. The same thing, the weather thing, because they're also facing the same thing. They're also expressing the same way that you are expressing. So the connection is built up on that conversation. In startup also, when we do the pitching, when we do the presentation in front of clients or any customers, so we also have to keep in mind that the conversation shouldn't be so much direct, that this is my product, take it. No, it should be like, okay, the emotion goes by. If any product is there, that product is connected with their emotions also and my emotions. So we should speak about that emotion. We should speak about the solution that we want with this, with the problem, and the problem solution is that product. So I think this product might solve your day-to-day life's problems and day-to-day life's headaches. So let's buy it, or let's give it a try. It's a prototype. Give it a try. So by this conversation, we can just connect with the customers, with the clients, so that they can have at least an interest to see what is the mission and vision of that product. I think you just debunked that conversation. Thank you so much for that thing. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So moving to our next question, how to deliver a perfect 70 or like 60 seconds of introduction at a business networking event?
The way that I've learned to do it over the years is based on my previous career. So when I was a real estate agent and we sold houses here in Oxford in England, for most of my career was pre the internet existing. I started in that career in 1988. So we would advertise in our local town newspaper. But when we advertised each house, we didn't tell people every detail of every house that we had for sale. We aimed to give them just enough information that they then wanted to pick up the phone and talk to us and find out more. So when I train people to deliver their introduction at a networking event, what I try to help them to do is to give the audience just enough information that then the people in the audience think, oh, I need to find out more about that. Because we're never going to be able to tell everyone everything in just a minute. So if we can give the right people enough information that they then want to continue the conversation, that for me has always been the winning formula. Because someone then will approach me and say, oh, you've just said you do this type of training. Can I just find out a little bit more about it? And then we're in that conversation. so that I can say, tell me what you'd like to know. And then as you just said, then I can talk to their feelings, their emotions, what they want to get from it. What so many people get wrong at networking is that they try and tell people everything in the 60 or 70 second introduction, and actually
they get confused.
They get confused. But the other thing is that if you tell people everything, people can sit there and listen to you and think, that's great. I know what that guy does. I don't need to talk to him now. I know what he does. What I try and achieve is to do enough that people want to talk to me. And everything that we do, whether it is networking or LinkedIn or whatever it happens to be, should be a gateway to a conversation. So we put information out there and that starts conversations. People want to speak to us. That's what I try to achieve when I'm delivering my introduction at networking events.
That's great. Actually, we have a word in India that is KISS. Always KISS. That means keep it short and simple. Always. Yeah. So when we do that deliverance in a precise way of manner, so we just focus on the mission and a vision, the problem statement that we are solving. That's it. So whenever a startup guy or an entrepreneur always give their presentation or pitch deck in front of the venture capitalist or the angel investors, so they only have 90 seconds, the 90 seconds of window. That's it. In that 90 seconds, if the VC or the angel investor is impressed with their product or their working and they get the exact gist or crux of the whole networking or the whole business aspect, then they're interested enough. If that 90 second doesn't click, then okay, thank you so much. The next one, please. So I think your
I was just about to say whilst we're all living virtually, something else that I'd like to say, Saikat, which is important in this virtual world, is that right now I'm keeping eye contact with the camera on my device.
Yes.
Because if you and I were in the room together, I would be looking at your face. But if I look at your face now, it looks as if I'm looking away. So if any of your listeners or viewers are having meetings with angel investors virtually, or are going to networking events virtually, when you do deliver your pitch, when you do deliver your introduction, make sure that you do it talking to the camera, because then it feels to everyone like you're keeping eye contact with them. And even though you and I know, logically, we know that we're not having eye contact because we're thousands of miles away from each other, as human beings, we still prefer that eye contact somehow, even if it's delivered virtually like this. So that would be just one little tip I would put there as well.
That's a great tip, actually. And everything is online right now, everything. And this is the new normal.
We open up in the UK on Monday, on the 19th. We open up and start getting back to real life. But I believe this will be the new normal, because it's so simple to do this here from my home without me having to travel anywhere.
Exactly.
I believe a lot of people will stick with this even when we can move around a little bit more.
And of course, as the pandemic is going on and on with new variants of viruses and coming up for more lockdowns, so I don't think the whole world will be going towards the earlier normal, but the whole world will amalgamate with new forms with the new normal. As LinkedIn is the most popular networking platform for like-minded people like you, and of course many people are here who are mentors and coaches, what is the exact way to approach them? Because we specify to LinkedIn because we also found ourselves in a connection with LinkedIn, and in LinkedIn I saw you are very active on that, so that is why I use specific social media as LinkedIn.
I use LinkedIn in a very particular way. So what you see when you say I'm very active on there is probably 30% of my activity on LinkedIn, because most of what I'm doing on LinkedIn is finding like-minded people So I go off and look for people who talk about the same subject as me. I look for the type of clients that I would like to work with, and I go and look at what they are posting on LinkedIn. And if I can add value to that conversation, I go in there and comment and like and share their content if necessary. What that means is that, and I spend time doing this every single day, looking for other people in my network, people outside my network, commenting on their posts on LinkedIn. Because the more I do of that, the more that people then come back and pay attention to what I'm doing. And then, of course, as you've seen, I post quite a lot of content on LinkedIn myself, images, articles, videos. I'm constantly posting on there so that people can see what. By me paying genuine interest in other people, they then come back and look at my posts as well. The other thing that it means is that if someone has been engaging on my posts on LinkedIn and then sends me a message, so a wonderful business coach from Sydney, Australia called Annette, Annette has been paying attention to my posts for 3 or 4 weeks now. She's been commenting on everything. I get many messages a day, but when I got the message from Annette 10 minutes before you and I came online today, of course, that's Annette, the same Annette who's been commenting on all my posts for the last couple of weeks. Wow, she's taken the time to message me. I should take the time to reply, to message her back.
Reciprocate.
It's very different to someone who I've never heard of. And then the first time I get a message from them is they want to pitch me something, or they're interested in me investing, or whatever it happens to be, which I get a lot of. If you think about it, if it's that person who you recognize their name because they've been genuinely interested in you, you're much more likely to pay attention to their private message. So what I would say to your members and whoever's watching or listening to this, be the first person to bring value to the relationship. Go and be interested in them before you expect them to be interested in you. Most people do it the other way around. The first thing you ever hear from them is an in-mail, and you've got no connection with them. And really, why should you pay attention to that? Because we're all busy. I get many messages a day. I pay attention to the ones where I feel like I know the person, and I feel like I know them because they've put in the effort to get to know me. So that's how I approach people. I spend 70% of my time on LinkedIn being interested in other people's posts, and then I post what I consider to be valuable content. I try and bring value to other people's lives, and by doing that, I constantly raise my profile on LinkedIn so that the right people are spotting me. The type of people who I want to be my clients are spotting me on LinkedIn.
Exactly. The thing is, whenever we go for LinkedIn connection or any social media connection, so we should always give a time to understand that people or understand that person, what he is doing, what his or her works, what his or her works is focusing on. So we should give some time on that thing. And after that, we can connect with them regarding their works, that, okay, your work or your speech or your podcast or your video is a great insight, but I want to add something on your video, or I want to learn from this conversation, that I have the same interest, we can connect. So those are the part that we can put forward before saying anything like, okay, I want to do one video with you, or just okay, I want to sell you something. So we have to increase the emotional part somewhat, 70% and 30% with the professional part initially, and after that we can go apart actually in the mutual way. So that is the thing. Thank you so much.
It is, and I've got around 10,000 followers on LinkedIn now, and every day I try to bring value to them, because if I can increase their value, if I can help them in some way. The weird thing is, the more that I post stuff on LinkedIn, the more people buy my books or book me for speaking. So if I bring value to them, they bring value back to me. It seems to work like that.
Whenever we post something, we always try to give values, always. So in your every post, I've seen the value every day. When you post anything, so you give the value to them and you try to deliver some knowledge, some insight, so that it can be carried to the whole day. Okay, I got some learnings for the whole day with that post or with that comment of that person, and that's creating a value also, and that also creating a network. Because I'm thinking of you that, okay, that person told about that particular quote or that particular one saying that can transform my life into a better way. So I'm in my head, in my thinking, I already connected with you, and of course I'm thinking about you. So our connections, growing much beautiful way and in a strong manner. So our audience would really love to know about one of your books, that is Instant Networking.
I've got it here as you would expect. What I noticed was that people would often ask me, how long does it take? So when I've met someone, how long before I should try and sell to them? How long before the relationship is there? And I realized that process could be accelerated. It wasn't about time, it was about how much effort we put into the relationship. One of the things that we often talk about in networking is the know, like, and trust. That process after we first met someone, before we know whether we trust them. And it isn't about how long we've known them, it's about the effort, it's about the immersion, it's about, for example, how long we've spent with someone. And how much effort we've put into the relationship. So instant networking is about that specifically. It's about how to speed up that process. Now, giving away a massive spoiler, I'm not a fan of shortcuts. I'm not a fan of hacks. A lot of the book is about effort. It's about putting more effort into the relationship than your competitors do. That's what I've been about all my life, really. If you do a little bit more than anyone else is doing, then you will more quickly move to that position of trust. So Instant Networking is a book that I'm really proud of, because it tells people how to accelerate that process. It tells people how to make that process quicker, but it is about putting more effort in. And I almost apologize for that, because people sometimes expect that it will be shortcuts or hacks, and that's not my way of doing things. The book is endorsed by a guy called Gary Turner. Gary is the co-founder of Xero, the accountancy software, which is a massive brand in the small business world, certainly in the UK. And I was very flattered that Gary chose to read and endorse the book for me, because he's connected to almost every small business in the UK. So I was very, very flattered with that. I really was.
Firstly, congratulations on your book, publications of your book, and for the endorsements also. And I think instant networking is not about the instant one. It's about the networking, how you can network with the people, because 90% of your connections are not network that are really mattered a lot. They won't reply you back if you are not connecting with them, if you're not making the networking worth it. So I think that instant networking is all about how to convert that 90% into the 100% networking. And of course, there is nothing like shortcuts. There's nothing like shortcuts in any sector. Profiting, and it's a business or anything you are working on, it will be on a hard and fast rule, that it should be in a hard work and also in the smart work, with some spices of mentor and some spices of knowledge that already being earned by some of the people who are very, very, very experienced enough. So I think your experience of that spices that we really need for networking will be required for each and everyone, and a good book should be on the shelf of every entrepreneur. And I think instant networking and for the networking in the dummies, I think those are the two books most important to be kept in the shelf of any entrepreneur. Thank you so much for that thing.
I'm very grateful for the chance to talk about them. I really am. You mentioned working smart there, and I just want to add something, because you've made a really important point. One of the ways that I work smart is I notice who is paying attention to me, and in order to speed up the relationship, if someone's turning up to watch every time I speak, or if someone is commenting on every article I write on LinkedIn, I notice that. And then I make a real effort to strengthen the relationship with that person, because those people, it's almost like they're moving closer to you. They're moving closer to you. And if that's the case, then working smart, let's strengthen the relationship with that person. And one of the things that happens is, if they're that interested in what I'm writing or my videos, then I may have a book or a product or a service that they may be interested in buying. And so working smart for me is noticing who's moving closer to me. I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you talked about working smart, I thought that was an important point I wanted to make.
That's a great thing that you make this point as an important, because of course working smart is the most important aspect in nowadays to become successful, because working hard is the one thing that goes behind that working smart. So if you're not smart, you are working hard, so hard day and night, it doesn't create any value, or it doesn't create any success in your way. So working smart will create your path in a shortened and in a good way to learn the things, unlearn the things, and of course implement the things. According to you, real values in business network comes from which thing? What is the exact real values are?
Conversations is where the real value in networking so there's two meanings of the word, aren't there? In bringing value to other people, we start conversations. So what I constantly try to do is bring value to other people's lives and other people's businesses, and that fits in with my values, my background. I come from a Catholic Christian background, and at school we were always taught that to serve people is the right thing to do, and those are the values which I've grown up with, to serve other people. So in everything that I try and do, I then try to serve. I try and bring value to other people. I'm playing with the word because the word has a couple of meanings, really. So then we start the conversations, which is where the real value is, because now I'm talking to you, now I'm having a conversation with you. I don't know where that relationship will go in future. I've started some conversations with people in the past which have led to us doing some really great things together, speaking on huge stages together and that sort of thing. So by bringing value to other people, I'm then able to start conversations, and the conversations are where the real value lies in networking. I hope that answers the question properly. Exactly. You were kind enough to give me some idea of the sort of things we'd be talking about today. So I really had a think this morning about what my answer to that question would be.
Thank you so much for this. And because in India, one renowned personality we always follow is so Swami Vivekananda always told and always marked the things that service to man is service to God. So his word was the simple and so deep in meaning.
What I'm going to say, Saikat, and it interests me a lot, because there are many people in the world who want to point out the differences between different cultures and people born in different countries. And what continues to interest me in my life, I'm 51 years old now, is that, so what I was taught in Catholic Christian schools in Oxford in England, of the words of Jesus Christ, were so similar to what you've been taught in India. And I always love to find what is similar about us, what is the same about us, what's the same about our beliefs. And I really wish more people in the world, this is nothing to do with networking, but I really wish more people in the world would look for what we have in common rather than what's different. And what you and I both learned as children, I guess, about service to man, that's exactly the same. That's exactly what I was taught by my parents and my school. And it's really lovely to know that just translates all around the world. It translates in India just as it does here in England.
Okay. So I think, as you said, that it's nothing about the networking, but of course it's all about the networking also. When we are very much curious enough to learn about each culture, different religion, different sayings, different learning. So in a way, we are networking only. So we can make the humanity most beautiful aspect in networking. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So, how you like to prefer business networking as a long game or a short game?
It can be both a long game and a short game. So, and this is something which I'd like to impress upon the people listening. If they need to make sales now, networking can be a short game. And if they need to make sales in the long term, networking can be a long game. It can be both. So I am making sales to people who I've only just met, as well as people who I've known for 15 years, or who are passing me referrals when they've known me for years. So networking can be both. One of the things that I ask people to think about is that trust isn't black and white. Trust isn't an on or off position. Trust has levels. So an example of that is that for someone to spend maybe £10 and buy a book from me doesn't require a huge amount of trust. For someone starting in a business, they may buy a book which in England would cost about £10, and that doesn't take a great amount of trust. For someone to put me on stage at their annual conference where they've got all of their team together and they only get them together once a year and they've got to impress everyone, that takes a great deal of trust. So what I find sometimes is that networking in the short term, when people know you, but they trust you a little bit, they may buy your lower ticket items. They may buy from you something that doesn't cost very much or doesn't involve a huge amount of trust. As the relationship grows, then the trust will grow as well. And that's where the long-term game comes in. So what I would say to the people who are maybe starting businesses, maybe have something to offer which doesn't cost a huge amount of money, which doesn't require a huge investment of trust in the people around you, but then continue to build the relationship for your higher ticket items. For me, that's how it's become both a short-term win and a long-term win as well.
I think you beautifully describe both the aspects in parallel way. What are the networking lessons you want to share with us? Because this is the most important part, and we want to know exact what lessons should we learn for networking.
The biggest lesson that I've learned in networking is to really respect why everyone else is there. So when you go to a networking event, other people are there to promote their own businesses. And what I've learnt is not to fight against that. I spend every networking event being genuinely interested in the other people and learning about them. But then the networking event or that LinkedIn connection is only the start of the conversation. It's then up to us to continue that conversation, to take that conversation forward with people. So a real life example just here is you could have just connected with me on LinkedIn I would have looked at your profile and thought, okay, he looks like an interesting guy, and that could have been it. Instead of that, you started a conversation with me, and then after a little while, you said, "Hey, would you come on and talk to me on this show that I'm putting out to early birds?" And you took responsibility for keeping the conversation going. So many times, people, for example, go to a networking event or connect with someone on LinkedIn, and then just expect everyone else to remember them in future. And you've been a real life example of connecting, starting the conversation, and then leading the conversation to here and giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience. If everyone else would do more of that, actually start conversations and continue them, they would win more business. Business would work better for them. So many people start networking and expect everyone else to remember them. So think about why the other people are there, be interested in them, continue the conversation afterwards. And this has been a really difficult one for me, and it took me a long time to really get the hang of this. Be yourself. Allow people to get to know you as who you are. So in the middle of this conversation, you and I stopped talking about networking and talked about some lessons that we'd each learned from our respective religions. And it was a little bit personal, but it makes the relationship that bit stronger because I understand you better as a person. You understand me a little bit better. Be comfortable to be you. I spent so much of my professional life trying to pretend to be other people. And when I relaxed and became Stefan Thomas, which probably for me wasn't until I was maybe 45 or 46 years old, then I found that more business came to me because the right people were attracted to me. The people who got me were attracted to come and talk to me. And you know what? Some people will never get you, but if you are trying to pretend to be someone else, it takes a lot of effort. The mask will slip eventually. Allow the right people to come and find you, because they will. Have some patience, trust, and the right people will come and find you.
Of course. So you just given us 3 aspects. The conversation should be always go in 2 ways, and the feelings are likewise. Thank you so much. The second thing is when you told about the age that after 45 you got to know about your forte, about how you have to be in front of others. So I think you also debunk that age is just a number, but you have to get it and grow as per as you are living the life. And the third thing, go with the passion. Do the thing that you are passionate enough. So you are passionate and you found your passion after 45, but you continue with the passion. And right now, I think you are doing the best thing that you have been doing for the past, of your life. So you just debunk that 3 things, and I'm Early Birds Club will always grateful to you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So moving to our most interesting question, that is about your best-selling book, that is the Business Networking for Dummies. So tell us something about that book.
What's really interesting to me is that I never intended to write a book. I was going to lots of networking events. I've been to 1,500 networking events or something like that. And I was at a networking event in London. I traveled to London for the networking event, and for the benefit of your ecosystem, London is about 2 hours away from here. So I was in London for a networking event, and I was speaking at that event, and then I sat next to, in the evening, the publishers of the For Dummies series of books, and they asked me if I would be interested in writing the book. What's interesting is that lots of people said to me, "Oh, so you were just in the right place at the right time." But what they didn't see is that I had been to that networking event twice a year for 7 years before I was sat next to Sarah. Sarah was the name of the person. So I was in the right place at the right time, traveling 2 hours to this national networking event because it was very worthwhile for me to be at in London. But I never expected to be sat next to Sarah and for her to say, would you like to write this book? And 6 weeks later, I met her boss. Her boss flew in from Europe to meet me, and the book was written. And I put my heart and my soul into that book. I wanted people to learn as much as possible. So Business Networking for Dummies, even though it's now 7 years old, I'm very proud of it. It's got so much information as to how people can find the right networking events for themselves, how they can promote their business at networking events, and how they can use social media to promote their events. What I like to think is that this is networking for the 21st century, that we also look at how to use online forums. Business Networking for Dummies changed my life. I've heard from some people who've read it that it's changed their lives too. And that's the best feeling in the world, where you get an email from someone who you've never met to say they've read that book, they've put into practice some of the lessons, and now their business has taken off. That's amazing to me. So it was an accident. I didn't get up that morning and thought I'm going to write a book. Someone asked me if I would write it, and I've never looked back since. I really haven't.
I think you just grabbed the opportunity, and the first thing that you told, and we have that discussion before also, that people are going to the shortcut way. So everyone tells that, okay, you were present at that time that you were supposed to be there. So they never told about the 1,500 networking sessions that you have conducted and you are present at that time. So this is the example of doing the works in a smart way, and of course in a long run way. There's nothing like shortcut. Can shy and introvert people be successful in business networking? Is the most important question for people who are willing to start networking and people who are willing to start a startup also.
Absolutely. Shy and introverted people can make exceptional networkers. And I've written a lot about this over the years, because introverted people may need to think about their networking. So, for example, after every networking event, I make sure I have an hour or so on my own to sort of settle down after I've been around that many people. Over the years, I've put a lot of strategies to make networking easier for me as someone who would be naturally shy if I was left to myself, really. So the things that I do, such as being very active on social media, which I can do on my own at home. I join in other people's conversations so that other people come back and look at me. And really, if we look at it, all of these are strategies so that instead of me having to walk up and talk to people who I don't know as a shy person, people come up and ask me. People come up and talk to me. So social media has been such a bonus for me since I started using Twitter in 2008, and then Facebook, and then LinkedIn. It's been so important to me to help me not be shy, because I can make friends with people before I ever meet them. And shy and introverted people, what we can do is use our natural talents, and that natural talent that we have, that strength where we're not very good at talking about ourselves. We prefer to get other people to talk. And so going and asking people to talk about themselves, it's what I do at networking events. And you know what? People want to talk about themselves. Extroverted people love it when an introvert goes up to them, because I say to them, tell me about your business. Tell me how you started in business. What was your journey? All the time, I'm flattering them, but what I'm really doing is taking the pressure off myself. I don't have to talk about myself. I'm getting them to tell me all about them. And then after the event, they come away and think, what a nice guy. He asked me all about me. He was interested in me. I'm genuinely interested in them. And at the same time, it takes the pressure off me having to talk about myself, which I don't like doing. I enjoy interviews like this, but I don't like going up and talking about myself. And that enables me to start the conversations. And then I continue the conversation with people afterwards. So to answer the question, shy and introverted people can be the best networkers. Look for opportunities to join in conversations online. Then you don't have to feel that you have to start every conversation. And it's a strategy that just works.
It's like that. We have to just break the ice in between so that they are very much comfortable enough to share their part and share the emotions they got.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
If you look at some great international mentors, such as Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm very interested in Gary Vaynerchuk. I have been for over 10 years now. You know, he started by looking at who was talking about wine, his subject, on Twitter, and going and joining in the conversation. He didn't start conversations, he joined in. And I've emulated that over the years. I look for who's talking about networking on LinkedIn and go and join in their conversations. So I don't have to start every conversation as someone who's naturally introverted. I can join in other conversations that other people have started. So introverts make great networkers.
So by this thing, I come to the end with the last question. And this last question is very important for all of us. I want to give some tips and some enlightenment to the startup guys who are starting up their businesses, the entrepreneurs, the university people, about the networking, how networking is more precious and how can they get the most important aspect of networking from their business and for their business.
Start. In a word, start. I'm lucky enough to get to speak at Oxford Brookes University, and I speak to their third year business students. And advice that I always give to them is get busy on your LinkedIn profile now. Connect with the people who are at university with you. You never know who they will go on to become in future. Someone who I was at school with is a professor in Florida, and someone who I knew in my early 20s now runs a huge global business. Connect with these people you're at university with. Connect with your lecturers, with the other people you come across. You never know where those relationships might go on in future. I'm always happy for people to connect with me on LinkedIn. I encourage the university students to connect with me as well. Let's keep in touch. I've been absolutely delighted to see that the people who I spoke to a year ago have all now graduated this year. And it makes me happy because I feel like I've got a connection with those guys. I'm connected with them on LinkedIn. I can see them now progressing in their careers. And so connect with people, connect with the people you've got around you, build your LinkedIn profile, take every opportunity along the way when you meet people to connect with them. Don't just have the conversation and then walk away. Send them a connection request on LinkedIn. The other people at university, lecturers, visiting lecturers, whatever it happens to be, and just start these conversations now. Then apply the same when you're in your career, or if you go down the route of entrepreneurship. Continue to build and strengthen those conversations as much as you possibly can, and do it always. For the people who are starting their entrepreneurial journey, starting their business, don't feel, because some of you will, don't feel that you're not as good as the other people in the room. That's how I felt when I started. You're starting your journey. Other people are at different stages in their journey. We all started somewhere. Go start talking to people, allow people to see your journey, but start. We can sum this all up in one word. get going on building your network and communicating with your network. It can be valuable to you now. It can be valuable to you in the future. Doesn't matter where you're starting from, but just start conversations with people. I really hope that rather big concept is a useful tip and hint for the people who are engaged with this.
You have to start. You can have an idea, you can have a prototype, or you can have a product, you can have many things, but as long as you didn't start that prototype, didn't start your ideation, so you can go to that position that you are thinking of. So starting is the most important and most initial thing that they need to consider. So thank you so much for the answer, and welcome on board on the TEBsCLUB in the ecosystem as mentor and coach. We heartily welcome you. We have our ecosystem partner, Mystartupyatra. We have our news partner, NewsSense. We have our outreach partner, Hamara India Incredible, with project partner with the Greenovators, and our life transformation partner, Yog Prachar. Of course, I will be in touch, and our network will be a long term, not a short term. That's assure you.
I really hope so. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And if anyone engaged in this wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, I would welcome that. And I really look forward to seeing where all of our relationships develop.
Thank you so much for this.